happened.
But you know who was on point last week? We talked about this.
Us. And why is that? Why were we on point?
Because the weight cut, like, it just obviously, I mean, we had a conversation on our actual Twitter handles with my cousin, our good friend Todd Hare, about weight cuts. And he's saying that one is now, what is it? It's ONE FC, right? That's, I can't remember which promotion it was. I'm pretty sure it's ONE
FC.
That they are testing for dehydration, which I didn't know they could do.
They're testing how much water is found in their system. Yeah.
And, which of course they can. I mean, I'm still for less regulation, and I think weighing in day of would cut back on that. But I mean, if we can, I still feel like they'll cut weight and just know like exactly where their water level's at. But regardless, something needs to be done if he's having kidney failure and his heart's stopping. And then it was a bad fight to watch anyway. No matter what way you look at it, entertainment, health, it's not good in any way, shape, or form.
And I just love how there's finger pointing everywhere. Well, the commission shouldn't have allowed it. Well, the promotion shouldn't have allowed it. No, you know who shouldn't have allowed it? The 2 million people that watched. If none of us would have tuned in, if we would have, as viewers, been like, we're not going to do this, it would never happen.
Well, at the same time, we didn't know. Like, we didn't know, you know? Like,
I blame you.
It's my fault.
Send your complaints to Karson Wood at
capital W_24.
Yeah, on Twitter. Yeah, no, it is what it is, and I blame a little bit of everybody.
I don't think like the 2 million people, like you tune in, you expect to see two professionals going at it. Which I mean,
2 million people didn't. That's why they tuned in. You can't get 2 million people on any other that broke all of the records of every other TV fight that's been on. So that means you can't.
You know why?
In fact,
what you can't what?
You can't. What was I going to say?
I don't know.
Expect people to tune in. Expect people not to tune in.
Well, no,
I don't know what I was going. We'll have to listen to what you said.
No, my whole point was you can't expect 2 million people that are accustomed to watching professionals do their trade. Like, you can't expect them.
But not. I would guess 500,000 to maybe 1 million were actual MMA fans.
So, I mean, that's still, you don't, especially as an MMA fan, I mean, you occasionally see people not make weight, but they just lose 20% of their paycheck and it goes to the other guy. They still go on and fight just overweight, right?
Yeah.
Where
like
we didn't
saw
know.
The Cody Garbrandt fight.
Mm-hmm.
Garbrandt.
You don't, or that was a catch weight though.
Yeah, because the guy didn't make weight.
Who didn't? Because one was at 140.5 and the other was 142.5.
Morris. So Cody, I watched the post-fight press conference. We'll finish your thought and then we'll get into this.
So this is my thing. I don't think the 2 million people can be blamed for it. I mean, the 2 million people are to be blamed that Bellator did so good and that we bought into a bunch of 40-plus-year-olds fighting, which if that card would have happened, except for knowing that Dada could have almost died, I would have been against it. Other than that, I would have still tuned in. The promotions were A+.
I don't want to talk.
They were amazing.
I don't want to talk shit on the MMA community, but I'm going to take a little bit of time to, because this is a fight. Neither of these fights should have ever been put on TV. Yet,
disagree. But
there was more discussion being had about these two fights than anything. There's a million, and I think it's a WWE mentality of, oh man, it doesn't matter how old these guys are. It's just legendary. And it's like, well, your Ric Flairs and your Hulk Hogan's and all of those dudes that are 60 years old, Mick Foley's coming back to the WWE, where they're just doing athletic things, not legitimately like punching each other in the face and potentially causing major harm to each other at an old age. I think that fantasy of like, no, these people can do it at any age. I've seen it in WWE. That doesn't make sense to me in MMA. Those people are legitimately punching each other in the face. Those people can cause physical harm, weight cutting, training, all of those things can cause. I mean, Kevin Randleman died at 44 years old of heart failure after pneumonia. I mean, what's stopping Ken Shamrock, who fought in the same days and the same ages as Kevin Randleman, of having his heart stop in the middle of the octagon? But people want it because, oh, it's just such a great fight, and it reminds us of UFC 1, and it was 23 years in the making, and let it. And it's like, no, they're old. Quit giving them money to fight.
Why?
Because something bad is eventually going to happen, just like it almost did to Dada.
That was completely different, though, than age.
Yes and no.
Why?
Because how many people have died from heart failure playing some kind of sport? Not a ton, but it happens in football, usually during practice or training of some sort. But when you're seeing these UFC legends die at a young age, there's a potential issue from the same people that fought at the same time that they did.
Well, I mean, we'd have to look at each individual case. Like you said, Randleman was from pneumonia.
But
It's not MMA related at all.
But we're talking heart failure. So eventually he got pneumonia and his organs would have eventually shut down.
Yeah, but anybody can die of pneumonia.
Understood. A 44-year-old man dying of pneumonia. It's not from
Happens
I
all the
understand.
time.
It's not from MMA, and I'm linking the two matter of factly, and I shouldn't be. However, my point is there's a difference between Ken Shamrock and Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson, who's not quite 50, but he's up there. You look at those two, and there's just a whole different physical and athletic look to them. Dan Henderson looks like he's a decade younger. Ken Shamrock looks like he's a decade older. And a lot of that has to do with lifestyle, but that lifestyle can cause major issues.
And that's the thing. Like, I understand, but if there are two adults, they are put money in front of them. I'm still interested. Like, I had two practitioners of the sport that were ambassadors and represented it. I don't have a problem with people watching that. Like a blood sport, like street fighting, like that and Kimbo. Yeah, that's kind of getting into weird territory.
But Kimbo had just beat Ken Shamrock.
Huh? He's a weight class above him.
I understand. That's not. We're not getting into the logistics. We're just saying that like Kimbo, who looked awful, beat Ken Shamrock.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, like, as far as
I hate it. I hate the spectacle.
So when do you cut it off?
Everyone has their own life and their own decisions to make. I'm not going to tell somebody, like, you cut it off. That's why they're not in the UFC, because Dana cut them off. Dana's like, you know what? I'm not going to let you fight anymore.
Well, because go ahead, sorry.
But my thing is like you said, two grown men making their own decisions. You can't tell them no. As a promotion, the promotion and the athletic commission need to step up and stop those types of fights. Obviously, Royce Gracie's still running like 15 miles a day. That dude is in better shape than I will ever be in my entire life. But that doesn't mean one hard punch to the head's not going to knock him to death.
Again, that's anybody, though.
Yeah, no.
You're not putting him against young kids. You know, it's not like you're putting him in against, like...
John Jones.
Yeah, he's not coming...
They put him in against Matt Hughes.
When?
Almost a decade ago now. But still, Matt Hughes was on his way out, but still dominant. And Royce Gracie should have never came back.
I'm just saying, like, I understand why, but, like, I just want to know when you start regulating it then. And I don't have a problem with either party trying to make money. Again, I think in retrospect, the Kimbo Slice data it looked more like blood sport. I'm going to cut him. Like, and then he comes in like he's not regulated at all, drops 40 pounds of water weight and has kidney failure. Obviously, something needs to be done there. Something has to be done on weight cutting.
He was at 301 pounds. You want to know, talking about Data 5000, and we should have brought this up last time. Totally respectable human being. He's got 2 degrees, 2 college degrees. Part of what he's doing, even though I think doing it the wrong way, but once again, that's opinion compared to whatever it is. Setting up street fights in the backyards to try and get gang members instead of shooting each other to just fight it out, and then giving those people a place to go and a way to make a little bit of money. Like watching the insider thing, the Bellator with him, I gained a lot of respect for him. After the fight, I lost a lot of respect for Bellator as well as the Texas State Commission. But for the fighters themselves...
I'm pretty much done with Bellator unless there is like a Gallard on it or something like that. I'm not really interested in their fights anymore.
Were they Phil Davis versus King Mo?
Yeah, kind of. Like, I've never really liked Phil Davis that much. Like, it doesn't interest me that much. Like, I'll watch it because I do this, right?
Yeah,
but other than that, like, if I'm not in the podcast... Do you do it because you're an MMA fan? Probably not. Like, I don't really care that much.
Warren versus Caldwell. The Pitbull brothers are pretty awesome.
Pitbull's great. And then the
Henderson
other one
versus
is,
Khrushchev.
what's the welterweight? Oh, my gosh. Askren. Is Askren still there?
No,
or did he move?
he's a 1.
He moved to 1?
Yeah. He's been at one for a long period of time now.
One seems more lucrative. World Series of Fighting seems more lucrative than Bellator at this point. Again, Bellator, they're more. It's kind of like a step into MMA. That's why when people are like, "I can't believe this. I'm a hardcore MMA fan. I can't believe you guys are watching this." And it's like you have to understand, like they do have a function. Like you said last week, the WWE, and then it's bringing over a lot of crossover fans into MMA. A step in that direction is Bellator, whether it's cheesy and kind of.
But the question is let's see how many viewers continue to watch with Galvao versus Dantes this weekend, or Warren versus Caldwell.
There won't be, but you kind of have that leader nail into it to start it off, right? The next time that there's a Conor McGregor fight on, or the next time, people are going to be more inclined to go with their friends and tune into an MMA fight because they've already been initiated. Initiating's a good portion of it. And again, it's kind of like WWE, Bellator.
But a lot of people said it's a step back because people that were watching UFC or watching MMA, for the first time, watching that aren't going to want to watch it again.
No, I disagree. I mean, it's a step back, yes, in some instances, and you will lose some to that, but there's no bad publicity. And if 2 million people are watching, even if you have 50,000 come back. I mean, I don't know. There's no actual number that you're going to have on. It's you at least have that setup that it could bring people back again from different promotions like wrestling or stuff like that. They're now more inclined, I feel, to follow more legitimate UFC and see it. The unfortunate part is everything that they've done for legitimizing. That's what I feel like took a step back, and it's like, well, no, this is just human cockfighting, and they'll do anything to appease the blood sport. And I get that to a certain extent, but I think they'll be more inclined to come to the UFC, see a more professional atmosphere, uniformed athletes and things like that. They'll be more inclined to stay, in my opinion.